Good afternoon. Welcome to Headlines News from Viet Canada Network. Retail sales rose 0.2% in February. Americans increased spending a bit last month. U.S. shoppers stepped up their spending just a bit in February after a sharp pullback the previous month, signaling that Americans are shopping more cautiously as concerns about the direction of the economy mount. Retail sales rose just 0.2% in February, a small rebound after a sharp drop of 1.2% in January, the Commerce Department said Monday. Sales rose at grocery stores, home and garden stores, and online retailers. Sales fell at auto dealers, restaurants, and electronics stores. The small increase suggests Americans may be growing more wary about spending as the stock market has plunged and President Donald Trump's tariff threats and government spending cuts have led to widespread uncertainty among consumers and businesses. Some economists were relieved the numbers weren't worse. Still, many expect consumer spending will grow just 1% to 1.5% at an annual rate in the first 3 months of this year, far below the 4.2% gain in the final quarter last year. U.S. horrible monster storm. 42 dead as recovery operations begin in wake of monster storm. Cleanup and recovery operations are underway across the central and eastern U.S. in the wake of a powerful storm system that swept across the nation, producing violent tornadoes, a dust storm, wildfires, and blizzard conditions that have left at least 42 people dead. The multi-day severe weather outbreak began to unfold Friday and lasted through the weekend, pounding communities with thunderstorms that packed hurricane-force wind gusts, torrential rain and lightning that knocked out power to hundreds of thousands of utility customers. In total, NOAA's Storm Prediction Center, SPC, said more than 1,000 storm reports were received during the multi-day severe weather outbreak. President Donald Trump released a statement on Sunday saying he was monitoring the situation and said his administration stands ready to assist as recovery operations begin. Harvard University. Harvard offers free tuition to families earning less than $200,000. Harvard University has announced that it is making tuition free for families who earn less than $200,000 a year. For families earning less than $100,000, Harvard will also cover expenses like housing and health insurance. The move is aimed at making Harvard more affordable for middle-income families, and it comes as the Trump administration targets university funding as a part of a crackdown on diversity, equity, and inclusion (DEI) practices. The policy, which will begin in the 2025 to 2026 academic year, will help make a Harvard college education possible for every admitted student. The Ivy League school said the move will allow roughly 86% of U.S. families to qualify for Harvard's financial aid. The median household income in the U.S. was $80,000 in 2023, according to the U.S. Census. VOA and RFA news agencies. Trump orders the dismantling of government-funded media outlet. President Donald Trump ordered the dismantling of news agency Voice of America, the U.S.'s state-funded media outlet that Trump has railed against for promoting biased media reports. Voice of America has been out of step with America for years. It serves as the voice for radical America and has pushed divisive propaganda for years now, a senior White House official told Fox News Digital. Trump signed an executive order on Friday that commands the dismantling of 7 government offices, including the United States Agency for Global Media, which is the parent company of Voice of America, VOA, and Radio Free Europe/Radio Liberty. Employees received an email on Saturday detailing that their employment was terminated, The Wall Street Journal reported, though it is unclear how many employees were affected. The 7 government agencies targeted in the order include the Federal Mediation and Conciliation Service, the U.S. Agency for Global Media, the Woodrow Wilson International Center for Scholars in the Smithsonian Institution, the Institute of Museum and Library Services, the U.S. Interagency Council on Homelessness, the Community Development Financial Institutions Fund, and the Minority Business Development Agency. Russia and Ukraine war. Trump, Putin to discuss Russia-Ukraine war on Tuesday. The Kremlin confirmed on Monday that Russian President Vladimir Putin would talk to U.S. President Donald Trump by phone on Tuesday. "We want to see if we can bring that war to an end," Trump told reporters on Air Force One during a flight back to the Washington area from Florida on Sunday night. "Maybe we can, maybe we can't, but I think we have a very good chance." Asked about the planned call, Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov confirmed it was planned for Tuesday. Trump on the presidential plane said there had been positive talks between Steve Witkoff, his special envoy, and Putin in Moscow. Trump is trying to win Putin's support for a 30-day ceasefire proposal that Ukraine accepted last week, as both sides continued trading heavy aerial strikes through the weekend and Russia moved closer to ejecting Ukrainian forces from their months-old foothold in the western Russian region of Kursk. When asked about what concessions are being considered in ceasefire negotiations, Trump said, "We'll be talking about land. We'll be talking about power plants. We're already talking about that, dividing up certain assets." Trump did not elaborate but was most likely referring to the Russian-occupied Zaporizhzhia facility in Ukraine, Europe's largest nuclear plant. Russia and Ukraine have accused each other of risking an accident at the plant with their actions. When asked about those remarks, the Kremlin said it did not think it appropriate to comment on upcoming discussions between two presidents. Canada. PM Carney arrives in London to meet King Charles and UK Prime Minister. Prime Minister Mark Carney landed in England on Monday, where he will have a private audience with King Charles before meeting with British Prime Minister Keir Starmer in London. This is Carney's first official foreign trip since he was sworn in on March 14, with visits to France and the UK. He will stop in Iqaluit on his way home. The trip to London will be a bit of a homecoming, as Carney became the first non-British governor in the Bank of England's 319-year history when he took over the top job on July 1, 2013. He served until March 15, 2020. Carney, High Commissioner Ralph Goodale and Carney's acting Chief of Staff Marco Mendicino are all traveling to Buckingham Palace, but only the Prime Minister will enjoy an audience with the King. Carney began the day in Paris with a visit to the rebuilt Notre Dame Cathedral before sitting down for a private lunch with French President Emmanuel Macron at the Palais de l'Élysée. It is more important than ever for Canada to strengthen its ties with its reliable allies, such as France, Carney said in French before lunch with Macron. Describing Canada as the most European of non-European countries, Carney told Macron he is determined, like you, to maintain the most positive possible relations with the United States. "We must strengthen our diplomatic ties to address a world that is increasingly unstable and dangerous," he said. "Canada is a reliable, trustworthy, and strong partner of France, which shares our values and lives them through action, during this age of economic and geopolitical crisis." Canada. Hudson's Bay goes to court to seek approval to begin liquidating its business. Hudson's Bay is set to be back in court on Monday, where it will seek approval to begin liquidating its entire business, putting more than 9,000 jobs at risk. The department store, which holds the title of Canada's oldest company, says it has been forced toward a full liquidation because exhaustive efforts haven't turned up the financing it needs to keep at least some of its empire alive. Given the company's financial situation, it wants to conclude the liquidation process by June 15. But it says it remains optimistic it can drum up capital and find a solution with key stakeholders, particularly its landlord partners, to avoid a full shutdown. In an application to the Ontario Superior Court of Justice, Hudson's Bay said it was struggling because of subdued consumer spending, trade tensions between the U.S. and Canada, and post-pandemic drops in downtown store traffic. The retailer owns 80 Hudson's Bay locations as well as 3 Saks Fifth Avenue stores and 13 Saks Off Fifth locations in Canada, through a licensing agreement. Hudson's Bay Company, in its original form, was founded by fur traders and owned a vast tract of northern Canada around Hudson Bay where it operated a far-flung chain of trading posts. Dating back to 1670, it has been deeply entrenched in Canadian history, but has been led by Americans for several decades now. Thank you for listening.